Do you think the grocery stores are crazy now? Imagine going somewhere to buy your meat where it just hangs from the ceiling.
Ah. Well, stay with us today and we'll show you the markets of Ecuador.
Mm-hmm. Hi, welcome to Around the World with Joshua and Alyssa, and it is week 7, and we are going to talk some more about Ecuador today, and specifically the markets there. So, let's look at the markets. Oh, sorry, one more. There we go. So, a lot of the markets in Ecuador will be just like open markets out on the streets and such. This one that we went to in Cuenca was enclosed in a mall area. But if the vendors aren't there, then there's nothing. It's not like they're just in with all the stores. They are the stores. So, here we have the fruits that you might expect to see in a market. A lot of tasty ones. Here we have,
Bananas.
some more fruits.
Yummy.
Vegetables. And all neatly stacked.
So colorful.
Those are some of my favorite pictures to take. And here we have a whole bunch of grains and other things.
Beans.
Yep, your corn. I don't even know what all that is. I just know it's stuff you eat. Now in this next picture, right there in the middle, we see a whole bunch of eggs. And you might say, that's not very good. They're not in a refrigerator or anything. Well, eggs don't have to be refrigerated.
Nope.
Believe it or not, you're used to going to the store here and getting them out of a refrigerated thing. Somehow Americans just decided that they needed to do that. And almost all the other countries I've been to, they don't do that. They get their eggs from the market just sitting out like this, and they take them home and they put them on a shelf. And when they're ready to use them, they eat them. They never put them in the fridge.
I think they did in Peru a little bit, but it would be after we got them from the market. But
Okay.
we didn't keep them very long, though.
In Brazil, we did not. I don't know how long it was, but in Brazil, and I know in Ghana, when we were there too, they were just in the closet. They were never put in the fridge. And once they're refrigerated, you have to keep them refrigerated. So when you buy them from the store here, you have no choice. You have to do that. But if you had not done that in the first place, like they do here, you might think this is weird, but that's normal. Just go buy them off the street or the market or wherever, and then go put them on a shelf and use them later that week or whenever you need them. Here is the meat part of the market.
Whew. It's kind of a smelly place usually.
Yes. If they would keep things really clean and fresh, that wouldn't be an issue, but sometimes stuff might drip onto the floor too and stay there a long time, so this part can get pretty smelly. But I think I see some chicken here, some beef, some pork, lots of sausages, hot dogs hanging from the ceiling, all sorts of yummy things. And just sitting out there, and you go and get what you want. You don't see prices on anything. Just ask them what the price is, and they'll tell you, and then you tell them that's too expensive, and they'll offer you a lower price, and you just tell them that's still too expensive. That's pretty normal in a lot of different countries. Here's another one. This looks like really good meat. Look at those.
It looks like probably beef.
All sorts of tasty things there. But you don't have to only buy food from the market. You can also buy hats.
Oh, yeah.
Or chains, or horseshoes, or ropes, or
whatever you need.
Yeah,
Brooms.
the stuff you'd find at our stores here that you might need around the house. You can buy them in the market there. Look at this lady. She's wearing a mask.
That's funny.
This was 2018?
No,
2017. And there was no coronavirus or anything, but that's just normal. A few people will wear them for other reasons,
I guess.
and now we just see it every day here. Who would have thought? Shoes. All the shoes.
Every girl's happy place.
This is about twice as many as Alyssa has in the closet right now. Okay, maybe a few more.
Yeah.
But you have a good number, probably, of what you see here, especially on the top shelf. Anyway, you can buy all sorts of shoes, the
colors.
Sizes, yeah. You can even buy
Nike New Balance.
Yeah, these, if you have ever wanted Nike shoes, because they're a great brand name shoe, or if you want New Balance, which are also great name brand shoes, you can actually buy them together. The same shoe.
That's trendy.
Uh-huh. And if you're confused, well, this is actually not either of those. It's a fake. It still works. It's a good shoe, but it's not a Nike or a New Balance. But, you can sell it for more and it looks nicer if you can have it on there.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you can have both on there.
Then you're really doing good.
Uh-huh. And just about anything else you might need. Toys, jewelry, combs, purses, wallets, bows, handkerchiefs to use as masks.
Well, now.
American flags, up you see shoelaces, all sorts of things. You can find all of it there.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the market we went to in Ecuador. We went to one in Quito. We also went to one in Cuenca. Very similar. And a lot of the other markets you go to around the world are like this too. We'll probably look at some more as we go to other countries. Mm-hmm. So that gives you a taste of what it's like to go shopping in another place outside of the U.S.
Mm-hmm. Not quite the same.
Nope. But a lot of fun.
And a lot of color.
Just don't spend too much time in the meat section because you might get sick if you smell too much of that.
And the fish. I think the fish might be even worse than just the meat. You go to a fish market.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yep.
Smelly stuff.
So yeah, let's get into the missionary story.
Okay.
It's the second one of
Operation Ymca.
Oh yeah.
So we started off the story last time with a little girl and how she lives with her people back in Ecuador, and her name was Ymca. And we talked a little bit about her and how she lived with her people. They didn't know what a Bible was or who God was. And then we talked a little bit about a boy named Nate who really liked to build things and take things apart. And God had given him a lot of creativity. And at the end of our story, Nate was trying to decide if he was going to be a missionary or a pilot. And he really wanted to be a pilot, but he thought maybe God wanted him to be a missionary. So we're going to see how these two people are going to be brought together. So Ymca lived with her family deep in the jungles of Ecuador, and we talked about a little bit how the Ymca people would just attack each other. If somebody hurt somebody else, then they'd come after and kill somebody else in their family. So they always lived in fear of when somebody else was going to attack them. Well, when Ymca was 8 years old, somebody came into her village to attack her family, and she was really scared. And so the only thing she knew to do was just to run. So she ran out of her village a long ways away. She didn't know exactly where she was going. She kept running and running and running, and finally she found a village, but she was really scared because her people had always told her that all the people outside of our villages, everybody else, they're awful people. They're just going to want to kill you. So she was scared. I just ran away from somebody trying to kill me and my family, and now I'm going to find more people. But the people in that village were friendly, and they welcomed her in to be part of them and to live with them. So she thought, well, maybe this isn't all that bad. But she did have to learn a new language because the people in that village didn't speak the same language as her. But as she lived there, she still wondered, how's my mother, my family? Did anybody really die when the other warriors came in to attack? And she also had that same fear of wanting to go back and attack somebody else because they had come after her, and that was just what they were, that's how she grew up. Somebody attacks you, you attack them back. So she always had these things kind of going around in her mind and in her heart, but she didn't really get to hear much about Jesus for a long time. So we'll take a pause on her story, but we'll come back to dig on. Well, missionaries heard about the Ymca people, and they knew that there were lots of people in the jungle that hadn't heard the good news about Jesus. And so many missionaries tried to go out there, and they'd have to walk a long ways to get to those villages that were deep in the middle of the jungle. They would walk and they'd walk and they'd walk, and it wouldn't be safe because there'd be lots of animals, and there'd be other tribes and other warriors that would not want to see random people walking through their jungle. There were also a lot of these, can you see this in the bottom? Snakes. They tell one time of how a missionary was trying to talk to some people about getting them some medicine, and the people said, "Stop! Look at your foot!" And there was a snake right by his foot. And the missionary paused and he prayed, "God, please help me escape." And somehow God protected him and he didn't get bitten by the snake. But there were all sorts of terrible things for the people to run into, and lots of long journeys to get all the way to the people. But if they needed supplies, they'd have to walk all the way back out of the jungle, and just, it was not safe. They really needed somebody to help them find a better way to get in and out of the jungle, maybe to bring supplies in, to get them to places a lot faster than walking. Do we know anybody who could help them get there faster without walking? I think we do. And God used Nate Saint's love for airplanes and his love to be a pilot to help him be a helper to these people who were missionaries in Ecuador. And he was able to come. He got a plane, and he was, as a missionary, went down to Ecuador, and he would help transport supplies or people from one place to another. And he could fly over, and then they'd find a flat spot and he could land, and he could do things in one day that would take people months to get done. And they were so thankful for these things that he would think of, and he would think of ways to box up food and ways to communicate with the radio. They even said that he would have to tie up donkeys and goats, and he'd bring them in the back of his plane to help just get them where they needed to go. But God used the things that Nate loved. He used how much he loved airplanes, and he loved little problems and figuring things out and making them work. And he used them for ministry with helping a lot of missionaries in Ecuador and in South America. He delivered a lot of medical supplies too, which was really important. Well, as he was doing lots of trips flying over the jungle, he would see little villages in between. And one time, as he was flying over one village, he saw people gathering together, warriors gathering together to attack another village. And he saw it, and he thought, I've got to help the people. So he flew to the next village where those people were headed, and he got out his radio, and he radioed to them, "Hey, there's some people, there's some warriors, they're coming to attack you, so get ready, be ready for them. And I'll go let them know." So then he swung back around in his plane and he flew over the warriors who were going to attack. He said, "Hey, they're ready for you. I already told them you're coming, so it's not a good idea to go." And God kind of used his creativity in that way too. He was able to help protect the people as they were trying to sort out things, and he helped them out even from the air, which was kind of cool. And he began to hear more about the Ymca people, these people that nobody wanted to talk to, that no missionaries wanted to go there, deep in the jungle, and how they never heard about the Bible before. And so he began to write letters to his family, and he wrote to his parents. He said, "I hope that one day God can use me, and that God can use this plane to help us tell the Ymca people about God and that he loves them." We have to see if that happens or how that happens. Well, when Nate was in Ecuador, he was there with his wife and his kids, and they were just studying and they were learning about the people. His wife would do a lot with the radio back at kind of like their headquarters area. She'd radio things to him, or she'd hear from other missionaries and kind of help figure things out so they could get supplies to where they needed to go and everything. And his sister Rachel, do you remember her from earlier in our story last time? She came down to visit Nate. And she was also a missionary, but kind of a different missionary. Her job was to learn the language of the people and then to write down the Bible in their language. So she had been learning some languages, and she'd been learning skills to be able to put the Bible into other languages. And she came down to visit Nate. And Nate talked about these people deep in the jungle, about the Ymca people who he felt God really wanted him to reach out to. And he shared his burden for these people with his sister, and she began to pray about it too. And she felt like God was leading her to learn their language so that she could write down the Bible for them in their own language, and those people could hear it. But we have a problem. They can't go to the village of the Ymca people, because if they walk into that village, what's going to happen? Right, the warriors will attack them, because that's how they're just trained. They just live like that. They don't want anybody else from outside of their village in. So they can't go in, but how are they going to learn any words in their language? They really need someone to come out of that village and come to them and teach them the language. But they can't really get anybody to come out. But who is already out of the village? Who already knows the language? Remember her? Remember Ymca? Well, we'll have to see next week how the two stories come together. Will they learn the language? Will they be able to help the people and be able to write a Bible in their own language? Will Ymca help? You have to come back next time and find out what's gonna happen.
That reminds me, a lot of the things that you enjoy doing now, God might use someday. I think there are a lot of people who grow up enjoying, different sports or art or music or cooking or something else. And then they say, I want to serve God, but I can't use this. And then there are other people who probably say, yeah, you probably need to go and learn how to preach. Or you need to go be a missionary somewhere in order to serve God. You could use something like wanting to fly, or whatever it is, wanting to help people with medical things. All sorts of things you can use to serve God. Music, and even photography.
Yeah, God can use those things. He has a special way to make it all work together to glorify Him.
Yeah, and if you try too hard to figure it out on your own, you might not figure it out. Just do what you enjoy doing and love God and serve Him the whole time you're doing it. And eventually He'll make ways that you would have never thought of or even tried to do yourself. It will just happen.
That's
but
pretty
you have
cool.
to be faithful. You have to do what He wants you to do. All right, we're going to talk about somebody who is doing that today.
Yeah.
Another one of Alyssa's friends. So let's go and look at her. She was also in our wedding.
Yeah, this is my friend Lydia Scott, and she is in the country/city of Hong Kong, and she's living there as a teacher. She's teaching English in a kindergarten. So I just have some pictures and a little bit about what she's doing that she shared with me that I get to share with you today. And she is one of my very closest friends. We went to Peru together, just like JR, my friend from last week, but Lydia was my roommate, and we didn't know each other before we got down there. And it's quite a new experience to live in another place where you don't speak the language and to be with a new roommate and all of that. So we made it through a lot of different transitions that are kind of really tough, and I think that's what God grew us really close together as friends. So today, Lydia lives in Hong Kong. This is a picture of Victoria Harbor. This is a traditional junk boat. That's the name of the boat, not that it's full of junk, but just the kind of boat that it is, looking over the Victoria Harbor. So Hong Kong is an administrative region of China, which means that some aspects of its government are overseen by China, but its economy, the people, the language, the culture are different from China. And my friend Lydia lives outside of the capital city. She lives in Tuen Mun. Now this is also kind of like from the hill over Hong Kong looking back at the city, but she lives outside the city. Here's more of her district in Tuen Mun, fairly close to the Chinese border, and she teaches English in a small kindergarten. She's lived in Hong Kong for about 4 years, and the first 2 years she taught in an elementary school, and then now she teaches in this kindergarten. On evenings, on weekends, she offers tutoring classes at the local YMCA, and she does some tutoring in her home. So she does a lot to just help kids learn how to communicate in English. This is kind of interesting. She has a picture here of students during an epidemic. So they're not in school right now because of all of the coronavirus stuff, but here are some kids when they were in school, and masks and all.
That's so funny.
Learning their lessons and still practicing their English words and everything, uniforms and everything. So I asked her some of the different ways that she's reaching out and building relationships. And one of the big ways is through this YMCA program. And this is a picture of some of the kids she has like in her class. She gets a chance to talk with the moms and the kids when they come for their class. And one of the ways, the other way that she does it is just seeing the same people on a regular basis. So she's always going to go to this store, or she's going to go to this class. And she tries to use those opportunities to show God's love and kindness to her students and their families. Before the pandemic put everything on hold, she was planning to have some of the moms of her students join a new ladies ministry at her church. So she's a little disappointed I don't get to do that quite yet. Her church is the second area where she's really involved. And this might not quite look like a church building to you, but this is where her church family meets, in the YMCA building. And she's involved in the music ministry as well as the English speakers ministry. She's always looking for ways to be involved in discipleship relationships with other believers in her church from different ages and backgrounds. And they have a ladies' Bible study and Sunday school and one-on-one discipleship. Here's a picture of her church service when they're practicing social distancing. So you can see everybody is really spread out. They all had to wear masks. This one was a young people's service, and every service at her church is bilingual. So it's in Cantonese and English, even the songs. And she said her church family hasn't been able to gather together since March 15th because of all the virus and restrictions and everything.
Wow, that's so long.
Yeah, they're still not together yet.
Cool.
She wanted to tell us some things about the city of Hong Kong, too. It's a unique city because of its history and its role in the world economy and politics. It's full of so many contrasts between old and the new, east and west, and rich and poor. And I definitely saw that when I visited her, too. There's so many different things, like huge, tall skyscraper buildings, and then, like this picture, then you have an old park in the classic, kind of older looking style, but all mixed together.
Wow.
And that's a really cool bridge. It's a very famous bridge in Hong Kong. If you ever want to do some history on bridge looking, that's a cool one. She wanted to tell us too a lot about her favorite food in Hong Kong. And she thinks that, or she sees that the food tells the story of Hong Kong's complicated history and how it's as diverse as it is today. So here's the first dish on the left. This is fried beef noodles. I'm sure I'm not going to say it right, but I'll give it a try. Gong Chow Yang Hu. I'll give it a try.
I think that was right.
She says they're perfectly chewy, really flavorful, and known among all of her friends as the most important dish to order when you share a Chinese meal together.
So have you had that one?
I think, yes, I have.
Okay.
We had, I think, the first time I was there, and we had like a rice version of it too. It was really good. And it's a reminder of Hong Kong's ancient history with China. Originally, Hong Kong was a fishing village, and it was part of the Chinese Empire when it became an important port city, vital to international trade because it's right on the coast. According to legends, a famous Hong Kong pirate even kept his treasure on one of the islands close by. We saw some of those caves, but we definitely did not go inside. I don't want to know what's in there. And then on the right, this is the Hong Kong style French toast, Sao de Si, which translates to Western toast. It's 2 pieces of white bread divided by a generous layer of peanut butter, then dipped in beaten egg, deep fried, and slathered in butter and honey. I am pretty sure I need this for supper tonight.
Or air fried.
Ooh.
I wonder if you could air fry that.
Let's do that. In a culture where everyone eats together and they're expected to share the dishes that they ordered, the struggle is very real for Lydia to want to share this one. Which I can understand. She says this dish falls under the category of Canto Western cuisine. It reveals how Hong Kong was once influenced by Great Britain and the colonization. After 2 wars between the British and the Chinese empires, the British Empire gained ownership of some of Hong Kong and leased the rest of it from China. So she lives in the part of Hong Kong that was leased by Britain as a buffer zone between Hong Kong and China, because she's like right on the border between the two. The lease ran out in 1997, at which point Great Britain returned all of Hong Kong back to China, but there's still a lot of Western influence in the culture and food today. Next favorite food, I would agree with this one, dumplings.
Oh, you love dumplings.
I love dumplings. Lydia really loves dumplings.
I really
too.
like them too, but probably not as much as you.
Lydia's favorite food is pizza, but if pizza dumplings existed, she's pretty sure that that would change her mind.
Actually, they call them pizza rolls.
I don't know. It's not quite the
Those
same.
are pizza dumplings.
That's pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
So these are fusion dumplings. They look very Hong Kong on the outside. They look like typical steamed dumplings. But inside is a filling that comes from Peruvian cuisine. Oh. I've had these dumplings and they're amazing. My mouth is watering just looking at them. They're so good. Just like these dumplings, Hong Kong appears to be very Chinese, but beneath the surface, it has all sorts of influences from Asia and the rest of the world. There's business people, helpers, missionaries, foreign language teachers, students. They're from all over the world and they come to live in Hong Kong. And because of this, when Lydia walks down the street, she can see people from all different nationalities and hear so many different languages just as she walks around, just along the way.
Nice.
Yeah, kind of cool. It's very, very diverse.
Not like rural Iowa.
No.
Or Minnesota.
Not quite. So children in Hong Kong go to school from September 1st until mid-July, just with a month and a half of summer break.
What?
Right? School buses and cars are not the ways that students get to school. Instead, most students use the public transportation. Like riding public buses, not school buses, and trains. And when they get out of school around 4 each day, many students go to extracurricular activities for the rest of the day. Because the education is so competitive, they're all in sorts of activities, trying to get better, even starting like in kindergarten.
Because they're Asian.
Yeah, overachievers. Her school even has 2 kinds of martial arts, music classes, and dancing clubs for 4- and 5-year-olds. That's kind of crazy early to start all that stuff. She's asked them what kind of stuff they like to do in their free time, but they don't even understand what free time is because their weekends are busy going from one lesson to another, from like swimming to cooking to tennis to piano to English tutoring. If they do have any time, they might spend it in the malls, just walking around. She lives really close to a mall. Well, kind of like on the 33rd floor above the mall. And they do have some nice parks in between. And during holidays, they like to go to Hong Kong Disneyland and Ocean Park and other traveling in the area. A typical street would be really busy with all those taxis and everything. And typically this would be full of light rails, but this is an empty light rail station. Probably because there's not as many running at this time of day.
Wow.
But you do hear it right from her apartment all the time. You hear the little ding ding as they pull in. It's a very efficient system though. They did a good job putting it together. And they do love doing their dance moves. So here are the kindergarten students in their Kpop dance class. All their matchy-matchy outfits too. So we asked Lydia, how could we pray for her this week?
Oofda.
That's a lot of people.
It's a lot of umbrellas.
That too. Hong Kong's had a really turbulent year. About this time last year, there was new rules from China to reduce the freedom of the people in Hong Kong. So the Hong Kong people stood up and began to have peaceful and lawful protests. But over time, it got a little bit worse and daily life was affected as the government responded, which I think we saw some of that in the news back toward the end of the summer last year about all this. So this is some demonstrations right outside Lydia's window. This was peaceful, she said, and they weren't like rioting or anything. They were just following the rules and trying to let the government know they weren't happy with what was happening.
Wow.
But by November, it was getting unsafe for kids to go to school, so they lost a lot of days of school because of all the conflict. And now the young people of Hong Kong have been out of school for 3 months because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So with all the unrest and the virus and all of that, it's made it difficult for the people in Hong Kong. So we can pray for them to recover from some of this stuff going on, and we can definitely pray that believers would be a light to those who are around them during some really dark times. We have the hope that the Hong Kongers don't have, and we have the wisdom, and we can pray that they have the wisdom and courage to share it with them nearby. So for Lydia, it's a lot of uncertainty. She's a foreigner, she's there to teach, and she has a visa to teach, but it's kind of hard when she's not working, and there's a lot of fear that could come with that. So she would love it if we would pray for peace for her and for wisdom in some really scary times, and just joy, even though it's a tough situation. And then just prayer for physical and spiritual health as well. She has something really fun here to finish off. We asked her if there's anything really fun to let us know about Hong Kong, and they have this tower. Okay, so it's a tower, cool.
It kind of looks like a lighthouse until you get real close.
Right? So they have all sorts of festivals throughout the year. One that's really unique to Hong Kong is the Chow Bun Festival. So guess what that's a tower of?
Steamed buns?
Yeah!
What?
Right? That sounds really tasty.
I want to eat that tower.
I actually went to that island with Lydia.
Steamed bun Christmas tree.
It kind of does look like that.
We could do that. It wouldn't take quite as many.
The festival originated as a ritual for the villagers to pray for safety from the pirates and from the plague. So now the festival is a parade with a dragon and lion dances and children all dressed up and loud drums and gongs to scare away the evil spirits. The most famous part about this festival is they have a bun snatching race. So there's a tradition that there's 3 bamboo towers filled with yummy buns in the days leading up to the festival, and then they're removed and distributed at midnight during the festival. And there's another safer steel tower that they build, and they put plastic buns in that one to see who can collect the most buns the fastest. It sounds really fun.
Oh dear.
The people of Chow take this festival very seriously, but because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the 2020 Chow Bun Festival will not have their parade or the scrambling competition or the distribution of the buns to the public. That's so sad.
Buns.
That sounds really tasty. But that's a little bit about my friend Lydia in Hong Kong. So if you think of her, she'd definitely appreciate the prayers this week, just for wisdom and strength and encouragement, because they're just waiting out the virus like we are. And
they've been in lockdown a lot longer than we have.
Yeah, they have.
Since mid-January, or?
Well, kind of. They knew it was coming, so they were preparing for it, that's for sure. I forgot to show you on the map where Hong Kong is, too. So, Hong Kong is in Asia. It's on the coast, and it's not our perfect map, but it's going to be about right over here in this general region. And it was really important because it's right on the coast, Port City. So, thanks so much for watching today.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing. If you noticed the item or the object today that is new for this week, put it in the comments below. See if you can find it. Maybe you have to go back and watch a earlier one if you can't remember. But
there's something new.
It is. Thanks again for watching. We look forward to being with you again next week. And keep sharing with people. Let them know. Tell them about Alyssa's exciting missionary stories. And if you want to go to one of these places, tell your friends, tell your parents, tell your kids. Say, hey, I'm going to ask them more about that place so that we can go there when the virus is gone. But anyway, we love having you with us. We enjoy sharing. We enjoy hearing back from you guys. So please let us know what you enjoyed, what you learned. And we will look forward to being again with you next week. See you later.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.